He made some rather strange joke about Mountain Dew that didn't go down particularly well. And there is a little bit of a sense that maybe Vance was the candidate that was best suited to fight Biden because he was, he's from Ohio, he's from the Rust Belt. He could best challenge Biden in his kind of perceived strongholds of sort of, middle America. He gave the speech most notably in Middletown, Ohio, which is where he grew up. But the Republicans will have to change their strategy to face Kamala. And we've seen Trump today say, oh, I'm happy I'm facing Kamala. But,
Okay.
They will have to change.
Nancy Pelosi has become the latest senior Democrat to endorse Kamala Harris in her bid to replace Joe Biden and become the Democratic nominee for president. Earlier today, the vice president praised her boss in a speech at the White House.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap. In one term, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who have served 2 terms in office. We are deeply, deeply grateful for his service to our nation.
Well, here in the UK, Prime Minister Keir Starmer gave this response this morning.
I respect the decision that he has now made. Not an easy decision, but a decision that I know that he will have arrived at, taking into account the best interests of the American people. And I look forward to working with him for the remainder of his presidency.
Well, let's speak to the Sun's senior reporter in the US, Anthony Blair. Anthony, good evening, good afternoon.
Good evening, Daryl.
The momentum that Kamala Harris seemed to build last night, Anthony, doesn't seem to be slowing down, does it, today?
No, absolutely. And as you say, we've seen a lot of key Democrats kind of fall into line so very quickly behind Kamala's campaign, Nancy Pelosi being just one of them. And Kamala's campaign raising this record amount of money, so over $81 million in the space of 24 hours, in the first 24 hours of her campaign. So it is shocking how quickly so many Democrats have fallen into line, although some, such as Barack Obama, are yet to expressly support Kamala or express that direct support for Kamala, which does indicate that there is a little bit of a divide within the party still.
Yeah, that is interesting. He did remain neutral last time, didn't he? I think as well, up to a point. So I think that is really interesting and worth watching to see if he does make a move. Just on the issue of Nancy Pelosi, how significant, Anthony, is that endorsement?
I would say it is fairly significant. She is sort of the kind of really what now that Biden especially is kind of stepping aside. She is the sort of the elder stateswoman of the Democrat Party. And, there is a sense that she was kind of pushing a lot of the momentum for Biden to step aside. And so her early support for Kamala's campaign, I would say, is indeed pretty significant. I suppose the key thing will be is whether the Democrats in some of these crucial swing states then also throw their support behind Kamala, because they are going to make all the difference come November.
And as you say, Anthony, follow the money. Front page of the Times tomorrow considers the amount of cash that seems to have flowed to Kamala Harris's campaign since the announcement last night.
Absolutely. And, this is now over 100 million in 24 hours, and as well as the sort of grassroots money that's been quite striking. We've also seen a lot of key Democrat donors, including the Disney heiress, suddenly free up these tens of millions of dollars, which were being held back while Biden was still in the race. So there is a sense that, both the sort of a lot of the grassroots of the Democrats and a lot of the kind of big money donors that do make politics move in America have both very quickly kind of swung their support behind Kamala.
I had a really interesting conversation on Times Radio on Saturday night with somebody who's been sort of studying the way that money flows from Silicon Valley into politics. And they were talking about these big ticket, these big leaders, Peter Thiel being one of them, Elon Musk, of course, backing Donald Trump, how the energy and the cash seem to be flowing in his direction from somewhere like Silicon Valley. And they made a really interesting point, which was that doesn't necessarily, that's the story. And so you come away from that story thinking, gosh, it's in the bag for Donald Trump. He's sewing up their endorsements and he's sewing up their cash. But actually, there was a sort of underbelly of high net worth individuals who wanted to support the Democrats but felt it was hard to do so publicly whilst Joe Biden was was presumably going to be the candidate. And it's fascinating to watch that happen, Anthony, tonight. That sort of blockage appears to have been wiped away, and the money starts to flow again.
Yes, there is a bit of a sense that a lot of senior Republicans, even though this has been talked about for weeks ever since Biden's rather disastrous debate performance, there is a sense that a lot of the Republicans have been caught on the back foot because a lot of the arguments that they've used to sort of trash Biden, most notably his age and his kind of instability, shall we say, can now be turned directly back against their own candidate because, Kamala has, compared to Trump, a lot of youth on her side. And, she's seen as someone who's maybe more palatable to a lot of, like, say, suburban parents who may otherwise be put off by some of Trump's more extreme kind of MAGA followers. So, yeah, there is a sense that, while a lot of the kind of maybe big business of Silicon Valley is still kind of supporting the Republican Party, there is a little bit of a groundswell of this is wrong-footed. A lot of strategists on the Republican side.
It's interesting how sort of perceptions and narratives play into politics in general, but particularly American politics. It seems, particularly presidential American politics. Just very, very briefly, JD Vance has been out on the campaign trail. His first solo speech since being chosen by Donald Trump as his running mate. What have you been hearing from him today?
Well, so JD Vance gave his first real speech since the RNC when he was obviously selected as the VP pick. And his speech, I wouldn't say made any particularly huge waves. He made some rather strange joke about Mountain Dew that didn't go down particularly well. And there is a little bit of a sense that maybe Vance was the candidate that was best suited to fight Biden because he was, he's from Ohio, he's from the Rust Belt. He could best challenge Biden in his kind of perceived strongholds of sort of middle America. He gave the speech most notably in Middletown, Ohio, which is where he grew up. But the Republicans will have to change their strategy to face Kamala, and we've seen Trump today say, "Oh, I'm happy I'm facing Kamala," but they will have to change.
Okay, Anthony, thank you for your time as ever. Anthony Blair, appreciate it. The Sun's senior reporter in the US.